Good afternoon, everyone. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews, and I am your literary ambassador. And today I have a special guest on my channel. Please tell us your name and introduce yourself.
My name is Riah Gonzalez. I am a entrepreneur, author, many multi-passionate person. And I just published my debut book, which is Successful as F, in September. And I'm really excited to spread the message of unconventional success and really just embracing yourself where you are.
Okay. What is your genre and what attracted you to this genre?
Yeah, it is nonfiction. Specifically, I call it memoir-esque. It's a really challenging and inspirational story told through the lens of my stories.
Mhm.
So I like to say it's not a me story, it's a we story. I just happen to have a loud mouth and be able to tell the things that have happened and that I've done that have changed the way I see the world.
Okay. Now, please briefly describe what your book is about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the book starts in my early life and really centralizes in my early adulthood and how things that in that time just challenging. Everybody has a challenging young adulthood, but for me, I kind of started behind the eight ball. I didn't have a lot of support. I got married very young. I had kids very young, and so I thought that the traditional sense of achievement wasn't going to be applicable for me. And it follows through actually to current day and some of the things that I did to overcome that, some of the wins. And then it also, the subtitle is A No BS Tale of Screwing Up and Succeeding Anyway. And
Mhm.
that's because I talk about some of the things that I did that really damaged myself and hurt other people. And then how do you come out of that? How do you feel successful after you realize that you've done things, because we're all going to fail. So,
Mhm. 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 Name three important facts in your book.
oh gosh. Um, Number one, you're going to be rejected, like flat out. It's going to happen in your life. And there's all sorts of, I would say, cliche things like rejection is God's protection, which is true. But I think like the reality is that you have to embrace that it's going to happen. You
Mhm.
have to figure out how you're going to maintain yourself, your sense of self, and not allow that to mean something about you. That's about them, not about you. And then separate yourself enough to like move forward and maybe receive some feedback from that, or maybe not. Maybe they're just icky and you don't receive feedback. So rejection is going to happen. You're gonna fail, like you're gonna fail big, you're gonna hurt people, um and not intentionally, hopefully. But sometimes you find out that you've hurt people in a very impactful way, and that is devastating. And the very best thing that you can do is to listen
Mhm.
and to suppress inside the immediate need to be defensive. Because what I've learned through talking through the things that have happened to me and then talking through the things that I've done is everybody has their experience. It's their story. This is my story. The people that experience the things alongside of me experience that same event in a different way, and their version is valid.
Right.
And so we have to embrace that and then really be willing to be repentant for our part in that, and say it out loud and say, I see things differently, but I also understand that you experienced that way. And my part in that, I would never want that for you. And I'm so sorry. And how can we move forward? Is there anything I can do to repair this in a way where we can move forward in relationship together? So I think that really embracing that. And the last thing I will say, I mean, it's not all negative. Like, I'm freaking hilarious. So, like, know that. But there are some really important and deep messages. I do talk about a period of time in my book. It's not a huge focus, but I talk about where I sort of hit rock bottom and I was drinking quite a bit. I don't drink anymore. But I do talk about the fact that I think people will hit rock bottom and think there's no hope for them, that you couldn't possibly be successful if you hit rock bottom. And one line in the book says, if you drink 4 beers instead of 6 beers, that is a win. Like that is a success. Like if you make a small step, if you make a sucky decision instead of a suckier decision, that is a step and you need to embrace that. You need to celebrate that and not stay stuck in that rock bottom. Like climb your way out a little bit at a time, but you've got to embrace the wins along the way. And it is possible to be successful in that rock bottom.
Wow. What does success look like to you?
You know what? It changes at every phase of my life. Like right now, success looks like, well, it's first of all in my life, success has not a damn thing to do with money. Like, I don't care about that. If I can sustain myself, I'm good. Got food on the table, excellent. My babies are taken care of, excellent. So that's one thing. But in this phase of my life, I have 2 grown children, one in 7th grade, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I have the flexibility to do the things that she loves, take her to the activities that she loves and spend time being silly with her or resting for myself, like really embracing what I need. And gosh, that is something that in my whole life I have never prioritized. And maybe that won't be my measurement of success in a year, 5 years, 10 years. Probably not. Things change. But right now, that ability to prioritize what's important in the daily life is success for me.
Okay. What is the worst thing a person can think or do to know their positive mindset?
What is the worst thing a person could think or do to know their positive mindset? Base it on somebody else, especially if it doesn't resonate
Wow.
with them, like, so I take inspiration from people. I mean, one of the things that really was a turning point for me, there's a TED talk that's very old from Mel Robbins, who's an inspirational speaker. She's actually like internationally one of the highest paid female speakers, but it was her first TED talk and it's called something like Stop Screwing Yourself Over. And I don't know how I came upon this. I was in a really dark place. I watched it and she talks about stop being fine. Like don't be fine. Be great or be awful, but like don't exist. So that aligned with me. That spoke to me and I took that on as my own. But I've also had people who've said things to me that I felt like maybe I should feel that way. It didn't truly align with me. And then it made me feel bad because I'm measuring myself against something that doesn't align with my truth. And so when you go and you fix your eyes on something that is true for somebody else, but not true for you, it will devastate you and you can't move forward.
True. How can we give ourselves permission to make our own mistakes in life?
We better be able to, because we'll get nothing done and we'll be miserable for the rest of our lives if we don't. I mean, I say that with conviction, but I struggle with this every day.
Mm.
Like just because I wrote the book on it does not mean I am the expert. I am struggling alongside with everybody else. And I'm very, very hard on myself, very hard on myself. But I do like ironically say to myself, like, Riah, seriously, you wrote the book on this. Like, come on, like but I do think that it's really important to when you can take a moment, breathe and say, I don't like that that happened. Why don't I like that that happened? Could I have changed it? No. How can I make it different next time or recognize it quicker? Like what can I do to change that to make it a better experience for me? But we are going on the daily going to make mistakes. So it's how we embrace that as part of who we are and move forward and not be so hard on ourselves.
How does success affect our challenges in life?
I think that success, if you do it right, which my definition is celebrating every, like even the dumbest things, like, I got up and I brushed my teeth today. A win, like,
Mhm.
so I think
Mhm.
that success can be so small. And that's really the crux of it, right? Like the everyday life of it is the that's it. It's not going to be these huge milestones, because you're going to blow past those milestones and then say what's next. It's going to be these little steps where we really we can say, I did something today, and today mattered, and tomorrow matters, and the next today matters, and the next today matters.
Mhm. What inspired you to write this particular topic?
This is the funniest story, because the book was supposed to be a inspirational story for entrepreneurial women about getting uncomfortable with the uncomfortable. And in the program that I was in, they said, don't worry about what it's supposed to be about, just start writing.
Hmm.
Like, just write journal entries or whatever, like whatever comes to mind. And then all of these sudden, these really potent, very vivid stories and memories came out of me. And as I wrote more and more and more, I started to see how they connected.
Hmm.
And I had this title in mind. I mean, come on, it's a little provocative, but in for me, in a good way. Like, I'm a little provocative, I'm a little too much, I'm a little too big. And so I thought, this title is going to call in my people who are going to align with what has happened to me and what I'm trying to say. And it's also like a loving push away for the people who are going to be offended, because I respect that. Like, I know that I'm not for everybody. I am a acquired taste. So I kind of knew that was going to be the theme. And so as that came together, that's how this came to be. But yeah, it was supposed to be totally something different.
Okay. Can you read an excerpt from your book, please?
Yeah, I would love to. Um, so this is from, actually, from the introduction. And I do talk about, in this introduction, I talk about being a young mom and trying to do it all. And you know, just struggling with that. So I said, how can I be sure that I'm unsuccessful when I don't know what real success even looks like beyond my power suit fantasy? Success is a journey. Barf. We've all seen a version of this sentiment on 100 motivational greeting cards and embroidered throw pillows, but none of them take it further. What the hell is success, anyways? Who decides? Who, sorry, who decides? Why does every so-called success story plaster over the real stuff? The crying on the floor, talking to God or the universe, the higher power, what have you. The exhausted mornings in the car, the Zoom meeting sweatpants in favor of the same tired platitudes. I want to see a more real version of success in the world.
Wow. Riah, what did you learn while writing this book?
I would say that in so many ways I healed. It's an ever ongoing process, right? Healing and working through things. And not just because the stories were vulnerable and challenging, and even pushed myself to say, what are the good things? You know, what
Mhm.
are the good things that have happened in my life? Because we don't do enough of that either. But it was the honesty and I mean, the day that the book dropped, I had a panic attack, because I thought, like, everyone's gonna know that,
Okay.
like, my good, my bad, my ugly, like, what if they don't like me? Like, what if they think I'm an awful person? Um, but I think that I learned that it's okay, and the response has been so beautiful to this book, that I'm, in the best way, not special. I am special, but my story is universal. There are themes and emotions and things that we're all experiencing that we're hiding, we're masking. And so for someone to see someone else let that mask down, it makes them feel valid. And for me to recognize that in myself and put it from pen to paper made me see that my experience unmasked is real and valid too.
Mhm. What surprised you the most while writing this book?
Um, there's 3 chapters that I was inspired and kind of interviewed and incorporated my daughters, each of them in their own chapter. And I was surprised the conclusion, which I will not spoil, but the conclusion was based off of and inspired by my daughter who's about to turn 13. And I always knew that she was an old soul, but I mean, she blew my mind. Like, that's why I had to put her in the conclusion, because the way that she sees success is just beyond her years, and it really, really made me question and see things differently. And secondarily, I would say that I had a very difficult and challenging conversation with my middle child, who we've always had a challenging relationship. And that conversation made me cry for 3 weeks. We have the best relationship right now because I was willing to have that conversation with her. And if I hadn't written the book, it would have never happened. So
Oh.
it was a journey that surprised me at every corner, but some of it was really hard and some of it was just so inspiring. And just to be able to tell those stories and bring them to life in a way that was not just about me was amazing.
Mhm. What does the title mean?
The title is very tongue-in-cheek. Like, so I have a show that is titled the same, and I have friends that are very, what I seem to be very successful, both in their career and their life story. And one friend in particular, I said, when are you going to be on my show? Because I feature real people, like it's not about like celebrities or anything. And she's like, I'm not going to be on your show. And I was like, why? She's like, I'm not successful AF. And I was like, you're like the most successful person I know. And so that's the thing, is like, it's tongue in cheek because not one person on this planet, maybe Gary Vaynerchuk, but not one other person on this planet truly embraces this about themselves. They don't feel that. And so I wanted people to think that I think I'm a badass, which I do, but I also am real, like, about who I am as a real person. So I wanted people to be like, what is this all about? You know what I mean? I wanted them to stop and think about, like, want to pick it up. But the subtitle really tells it all. It's like that it's a no BS tale of screwing up and succeeding anyways. It's about being a real person who makes mistakes and says, I make mistakes and I'm still successful because I define what success is. And so that's really where it is. It's like a funny, sarcastic, provocative way of bringing people into an actual honest conversation about how do they embrace and love themselves more,
Mhm.
even in the hard times.
Mhm. I love the cover. Love it. Tell
I
us
do too.
tell us about the process of coming up with the cover.
Yeah, I had the amazing opportunity. My publisher is New Degree Press, and they have very, very skilled graphic designers. And so, like, the mood board that I came up with was, I was like, somehow I want this to feel very luxurious.
Mhm.
Like, I want it. And so, but what we came up with was not right. I was like, this looks like a car ad or something. I don't know. It doesn't look quite right. And so I said it still has to have this like casual sort of sassy feel to it.
Mhm.
And so she was able to come up with the bedazzled F word, which I was like, yes. And then she had some elements in the back, and I was like, what if, but she had diamonds on the bottom. And I was like, that's not me. So I was like, what if we just take this like gold sort of falling down
Mhm.
behind, which when you read the book, the end chapter has a little bit of element of that. So it has some tie to the end. But yeah, it was like, how do we incorporate this? Like, I'm fancy, you know what I mean? But then also like you know, I scribble out my stuff, you know, like it's just like an approachable, and also these are like my very favorite colors, and I'm obsessed with like the ombre effect. So it was a way of like, and then the gold is like the whole I'm fancy type thing. So it just was I just think it's beautiful. I love it. You know, like it's fun, it's gets your attention, but it also has these elements that are just visually appealing, and it has like these little tied um connections to what the book is about.
Yes, when I seen the cover, fancy was, I was like, oh, she fancy.
I am. I'm extra.
Why is this particular topic so important to you?
Because I needed it, and I need it now. I always feel like I'm not enough. I always feel like I'm never going to do enough. I always feel like I've accomplished some unbelievable things in my life. I went to college for 12 years as a young mom, paying cash, one class at a time while working full time, married, doing all these things, working 60 hours a week. And the minute I graduated after 12 years, I thought, I have to get my master's degree, which I don't have my master's degree. I stopped myself. But like it, like at graduation,
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I did this. I don't feel enough. I need to do something
Right.
else. And
Mhm.
and so I think it's really important for people to be able to embrace these small things, so they see those big things are amazing, but they are a cumulative milestone of
Mhm.
all of the little milestones. And until we can embrace that, we're never going to get close to that enough feeling, you know. And so I think that that's a very, very important theme, and also very universal, especially as women. We're never going to be a good enough mom ever. We're you know, we're gonna always be um substandard because we are women. You know, I have a lot of privilege because of being Caucasian. I think for women of color, and my daughters are Latina, my husband's from Mexico, so I see this um experience that I can do my best to help them connect to who they are in their culture, but I also recognize that there's a limitation to what I can do. And so I think, you know, when you layer on those things, like these are universal topics, but we could go on and on about how the way that these things apply to especially women in different layers in different areas, where let's just start the conversation.
Mhm.
Let's just be real with each other. And then, you know, maybe in sequels we go for more, you know.
Right. Right. Now tell us about your publishing journey.
I went through a lot of thought process about like, how did I want to do this? Did I want to self-publish? Did I want to try to do traditional publishing? And I had some colleagues that had gone through a program called the Creators Institute. I needed a little structure because I had no idea like how to do this. And I'm not writing a fiction novel where you can kind of have like, this is your story building and all of that. And the Creators Institute was created out of Georgetown University. The professor is Eric Pester. He's amazing. And the first half of it is really working through building a story. You work with a developmental editor through that whole process, which was phenomenal. And then you have to apply to be, it's a hybrid publishing program. So you have to apply to be accepted and, you know, like them to take on your book through New Degree Press. At that point, I worked with a revisions and marketing editor. Big shout out to Caitlin Conville. She's amazing. And she really pushed me in a way. She got my vision from the beginning. So she would say, like, I think what you're trying to say here is this. And I would be like, oh my God, yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to say.
Yep.
And I was able to take a book that was like 60,000 words plus down to just under 40,000 words. And do that in a way where I just chopped huge portions of my book, because when I looked at it, it was a me story, not a we story. So it was something where I needed to write that to get to this point, but I wanted the book to be succinct, to be relatable, and to not have fluff. And so there's zero fluff. Everything in this story builds towards the greater message.
What do you hope readers to take away from reading this book?
Aside for the fact that I hope that they love me, I hope that they will be encouraged and connect with other people. So I want to build a community, and yeah, I hope that they feel encouraged and that they'll reach out to other people.
Okay. Tell us about your podcast.
So my podcast is a live stream, and I bring people on, again, real people. We talk about what they thought success was, what they maybe some adversity that they overcame that changed their perspective, and what does success mean for them right now in this phase of their life, and how do they envision that it may change in the future. And the stories are so varied, and I do that intentionally because everybody's going to resonate with something different. And it's fun. It's a lot of fun. It's very conversational and relaxed. And yeah, so it's fun to watch. I have it. It's on YouTube, so I stream it to YouTube, and then it's also in podcast form everywhere where you podcast.
Okay. What is one piece of advice you would give someone to change their mindset for success?
You can't do it by yourself as much as you would like to. You really can't. I am a serial do it by yourself kind of person. And if I feel like it's not, if I feel like I can't trust the person that I asked for help, or if I feel like it's not being done right, and not in a like elitist kind of way, but like I wouldn't do it that way. Um, I'm gonna try to do it myself, but I'm not gonna do it as well as if I did it in a team. And I hate group projects like that. Let's just establish that high school, college group projects are the worst, but they only work when there's in like intimate trust. And so you have to first build the community and the people that you trust, and then you have to actually utilize that. I've had friends come back after reading the book so mad at me because, especially the stuff about adulthood, they're like, I literally was walking side by side in this time frame with you. We were texting weekly, and this was happening, and you didn't tell me. And I could have like at least come and sit with you, or like hold your hand, or go to something with you, or offer encouragement. And why didn't you ask for help? And it's because of our pride, and it's because we don't know how. So we have to practice when it's not so urgent, and figure out how we can ask for help when it is urgent, because that's, again, something that we're all going to go through.
Who is your target audience?
Twofold. Primarily, I want to speak to a millennial women, and millennials range between 26 and like 41. And I would say like 29 to 40 is like my target audience, because they're still young enough to have dreams and hopes that maybe aren't tainted by the world yet. But they also have lived through some things, and they are coming to grips with the fact that it may not turn out the way that they thought, and they don't really know how to move past that. And secondarily, I am very passionate about reaching younger people, maybe fresh out of high school, starting college, who are very under the thumb of success is defined by what my parents want, or I'm becoming a lawyer because that will make my family proud, or it's expected of me. Or I went to school and I spent all this money in student loans, but I actually hate this thing and I don't want to do it, but I feel like I have to do it because I'm $100,000 in student loan debt. Like, how do you rectify that? How do you move forward in a way that is honoring of yourself, because like imagining being 30 years down the road doing something that you hate, like it actually makes me want to cry. So those are the two audiences. Obviously I'm literally about in just less or just over a week I'm about to turn 44, which I like to say this is a cool birthday because I'm divisible by 4 and 11 in the same birthday. But I feel connected to that elder millennial audience because I'm very young at heart. But also I feel connected to the younger audience because I have daughters in that range and I've seen what they've been through and we've sort of come to the other side, right? Like to the past the drama and now they're launching into their adult lives. And what about the kids, so to speak, who don't have a mom like me? Not that I'm perfect, but they don't have someone to turn to and say like, I'm having this doubt. So I want it to be a place they can start, you know, like, and feel seen.
What were the key challenges you had to face when writing this book?
Really coming to grips with some pretty heavy shit. Um, things that I thought I had dealt with that I thought would be safe for me to talk about. And as I transported myself into those experiences, it was very painful. And for those who read it, chapter 5 is the one that I get the most responses to. And it was something that really rocked me. And then also, like I mentioned about that conversation with my daughter, like realizing that things that I thought that I was doing that were good were actually received as something negative. And then going back and re-seeing the situations through her eyes and just feeling devastated, like realizing the things that we do and how they impact other people. And then if you took that on a micro level in the way that we interact with people every day, how that can be received and how we can impact other people's lives. Like literally how you speak to the cashier at the grocery store could have such an impact. And so yeah, it really opened my eyes to the way we are interconnected and affect each other.
Okay. What has been your greatest accomplishment thus far in in your literary career?
Um, I think one is about to happen, and that is I had this like vision of holding my book in hardback before I even knew what my book was about. I just knew that I was going to write a book someday, and it is at the printers and on its way to me. And like knowing that I'm going to hold it is phenomenal. This is incredible, like surreal and amazing to hold it in paperback. Um, but these conversations, like just meeting these amazing people who are passionate about reading and learning other people's stories, whether they be fiction, nonfiction, whatever it might be, I have so much fun meeting people like you and the audiences, connecting with readers. That's to me the most phenomenal experiences because otherwise I would never know these people if I hadn't written this book.
Yes, yes. What are you currently working on right now?
Right now, I am currently working on primarily getting the word out about the book, not because I should clarify, I'm not worried about book sales. That is not my intention here to become rich off of selling this book. I mean, I won't say no, like that would be great if I did. But I think it's an important message that needs to get out there. But I also am working on putting together a community. It's on an app called Heartbeat, which is like Mighty Networks kind of thing. And I want it to be a safe place where people can come and talk about their wins and their like oopsies or whatever. Like not to brag and not to be poor me, but to normalize this conversation and then to have sub conversations about things that people are interested in. Like I love doing art projects with epoxy resin. Like how about getting a group of people who like to do crafty stuff together, or people
Mhm.
who like to do Dungeons and Dragons together, or people who like to do watercolor, or a book club, or whatever it might be, because within those sub interests, there are wins, there are
Mhm.
failures. Like, why isn't this thing working? Or look at this cool thing I did. You know what I mean? Like, let's have show and tell, and let's have this collaboration and problem solving. And that's the community that I envision and dream and really, really hope comes out of this.
Hmm. Do you have any book events coming up in the next couple of months?
I am doing quite a bit virtually. I am super open, and to the audience, I would love to find out more about nonfiction events. I find that there are so many amazing events for people who write fiction, romance, and other genres, but there's not a lot out there for nonfiction. And so I want to connect with people who are interested in that. And I love meeting in person. I love conventions, but I also love these virtual summits and that kind of thing. So nothing specific in a larger scale, but I have quite a few interviews and things set up where I'm going to be on podcasts and shows. And you can follow me on Instagram, which it's Riah Gonzalez _author. And I keep everybody posted on that.
Okay, okay. How can readers find you and your book?
The very best way to find me, learn more about me, and then connect with me on the space that feels good for you is to go to my website, which is riahgonzalez.com. My last name is spelled with a Z on the end, although I bought the URL with the S because everyone wants to misspell it. So it will redirect you to the right place. Um, and yeah, there's information about the book. There's information about if you would like to book me as a speaker for your event. There's fun information about me and my family and my interests, and then there's links to everything there.
Okay. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close?
Yeah, well, first of all, I would just like to say, like, a huge thanks to you, Queenie, for having me on the show, and for
Welcome.
opening this up to your audience, and a thank you to the audience for participating, because you're here with us too. And I just want to add that everything is possible. We are the protagonist of this story that we're writing. And just like in your favorite book, where it takes this twist that you didn't see, and you thought that you knew what the ending was going to be, we don't. We don't know what the ending is going to be, but we do have the ability to steer it in a new direction. And so, we're writing this story, and you can rewrite the next chapter, and then who knows what's after that.
But before you go, I want you to play a little game with me.
Yeah,
This or that.
sure.
This or that.
This or
Audio
that.
book or ebook?
Say that again.
Audio book or ebook?
Ooh, I like audiobooks.
Okay. Are you a morning writer or a night writer?
I'm an all over the place writer. Whenever the inspiration strikes.
Silence or music while writing?
Music.
Coffee or tea?
Oh, coffee. I'm from Seattle.
TikTok or Instagram?
TikTok all day, every day. Love it.
And Goodreads or Amazon?
I prefer Goodreads. I feel like it's more like community based.
Yeah.
Plus, I'm Snoopy, so I like to see what other people are reading too.
Well, thank you for coming in today. I
Thank
really
you.
do appreciate it.
Yes, I appreciate you too. Thank you so much.
All right. This is Queenie Clem with Queenie's Book Talk and Reviews. Happy reading. Bye, y'all.
Bye, guys.